Growing up, you may have heard all sorts of ways that we can help save the planet from climate change. Ways like driving less, recycling, planting a garden, or even taking shorter showers. But how often do you hear that eating meat is the worst thing you can do for the earth? With ever-growing quantities of data, we know that mass consumption of meat is destroying our planet. While greenhouse gases and CO2 emissions is a natural part of the Earth's atmosphere, the amount of pressure we're putting on our environment to filter the toxins of our mass production is not sustainable. Simply cutting back on how much meat we eat is not enough to reverse the damage that we have caused. It's because of this that a vegan diet is the only course of action we can take in order to fight climate change properly. Mass consumption has become a way of life for our species. We vote with our dollar, meaning when we buy meat at enormous rates, the market has to adapt to stay caught up. Each year, the meat industry grows. Global consumption of meat has tripled over the last 50 years and is expected to raise by 80% in the next 30 years. When you buy a piece of meat, that meat has a story with several locations before it ends up on your plate. The animals are raised in a factory farm where they stand in a field or structure ingesting feed. The grain they consume has to be grown somewhere. All around the world, large portions of land are being turned from their natural state into fields to grow grain. This process is called deforestation. David Pimentel, a professor of ecology in Cornell University's College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, tells us that if all the grain currently fed to livestock in the United States were consumed directly by people, the number of people who would be fed would be nearly 80 million. Yet, each day between 8,000 and 15,000 people die from hunger. Each step in the process of meat production emits CO2 into the environment. Starting with the employees driving to work, the seeds that are shipped to the farm, the grown grain that is then shipped to the cows, the laborers that feed the cows, and then the gases that the cows emit from processing their food. Most farms do not slaughter their own meat, so the animals are transported to that facility before the meat is transported to the packaging plant in yet another location. Lastly, the meat will be shipped to the stores where the customer will purchase the meat before driving it home to prepare. This doesn't take into consideration the process of getting the mayo and the cheese also onto your burger. If world leaders suddenly decided to do something about these issues, it would most likely be under the intention of meat-eating reduction rather than total abstinence from meat. This is due to funds and contributions that are given to politicians by the meat industry to protect their interests. David Pimentel of Cornell University goes on to tell us that even under the most optimistic scenarios for technological improvements in livestock efficiency, 9 billion humans could not continue to eat animals at the current and projected rates and still avoid catastrophic environmental harms. He goes on to tell us the entire human population could, in principle, meet its protein needs from plant sources and only contribute 1.1% of sustainable greenhouse gas emissions. This video doesn't even scratch the surface of the information that we have on just how detrimental the meat industry is on the planet and on humanity as a whole. So why does it feel so hard to adjust our behavior to a way that we know will literally be the solution to stopping the end of our world? Being confronted with this shocking data, you might feel empowered to be part of this change, but this level of commitment can feel unattainable in a world where meat is quite literally celebrated. Beautifully stated by 10-year-old vegan Genesis Butler at a TEDx conference, she said, "I see a lot of people in their eco-friendly cars with their Save the Earth bumper stickers, but they're in drive-thrus ordering burgers. Choosing to shift your diet so drastically, well, it can feel overwhelming, especially when it doesn't feel like anybody else is doing it too." This being said, we're not alone in choosing a vegan diet. Currently, there are 79 million people around the world who are choosing to go vegan. Plant-based food sales have surged in the last 2 years, going up by 45%. Choosing vegan when out to eat could be as simple as asking for no cheese or no mayo. And there are now apps on our phones in which we can scan barcodes and figure out if the foods we're about to consume are vegan. So, in the words of the Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. What step will you take today towards a vegan diet that will help change the world?